From the Highlands of Zone 4, it's another episode of There Can Be Only One.
Laddie, get me killed. There is no siestas in the Highlands.
Here we are, born to be kings. We're the princes of the universe.
And welcome back to the show. I'm Brant.
And I'm Chris.
And this is episode 5, the much anticipated, long awaited, a little late episode of There Can Be Only One. Welcome back to the show, everybody.
What's up, everyone? Hey, I'm going to throw this out there now because There Can Be Only One is part of Zone 4. I was making this joke with Brant, and I'm going to stick to it with the Patreon. If we make... And Brant will have to put it in the goals. If we make a certain amount of money, I keep talking about a kilt. I will wear a kilt in a video for Zone 4, for Comic Frontline, and for my channel if we get to a certain tier once every at least 6 months. As long as we stay at that tier.
You heard it here. Yep. And if you add a little bonus, he'll even get a shillelagh.
Mm-hmm. Yet, I will go on my tree, I will chop down a piece of wood, and I will make my own shillelagh.
There you go. Chris in a kilt with a shillelagh on video for all you fine people.
I would just like to point out, though, in Scotland, they do not wear underwear under their kilts. So, just a fair warning.
Thank goodness we're not in Scotland.
That's right, because I am definitely wearing underwear under mine.
Please. We don't want to scare away our listeners, man. Come on now.
Well, exactly.
So, and interestingly enough, as this episode airs, the Zone 4 Patreon should be live. So go check it out. Patreon.com/Zone4Podcast. And I'll be talking more about that at a later date on other shows. So if you're not familiar with our other shows, we'll talk about those at the end. But we are here to talk about Highlander. Mm-hmm. And specifically, Highlander, The American Dream, issue number 5, the final issue of the IDW miniseries that's kind of the prequel to the first movie. So, just to recap you guys, it's written by Brian Ruckley, art by Andrea Muti, and I'll just read the story so far just to catch everybody up since it's been a while. And if you haven't been reading along with us, if you're waiting for the trade or whatever. All right, so this is from the very first page. Since the dawn of time, immortals have lived secretly among us, fated to await the time of the gathering, when those who remain will battle for the prize, a prize that will bestow immense power upon the sole survivor. 1985, the gathering has begun. And the world's few surviving immortals are coming together in New York to face the final challenge of their long lives. Amongst them are Connor McLeod, the Highlander, and Asta Vasilik. Together, they stand against those who might plunge the world into darkness. Now, this issue is basically the two big battle scenes. Mm-hmm. As this miniseries culminates into these two epic scenes, leading us right into the plot for that first movie in 1986. You have Connor going after John Hook, and it's like he's had it, he's done, he's ready to take this guy out, and he goes at him hard, and he goes at him fast, and they're battling, but ultimately Connor McLeod obviously is the victor, lops off the dude's head, quickening. And there you go.
I like the way the artist did the quickening for Connor. I really like that.
It was really cool and explosive. I mean, it was very beautiful. Mm-hmm. Lightning everywhere. Before we got to all that, by the way, we did have the farewell with Rachel a little bit. Is it Rachel or Rebecca? I keep
Rachel.
The name
no, you're right, Rachel.
Yeah, okay. I thought I was right. So he's like, it's time. I gotta go, and she's like, you idiot, you dummy. And meanwhile, you have this what we assume is the first Watcher following him, and he's he's wanting to get to the bottom of this after all these years. He wants to finally figure out what's going on, and he's there, and he sees things go down, and then he gets shot in the neck for it by Rachel. Which is, I'm sorry, we are spoiling it, by the way.
It's been 2 weeks, maybe 3.
I think it's been 3.
It's been about 3, so you guys should know unless you're getting the trade.
Yeah, and you know where this is coming to. I mean, obviously this has to happen, to set up for the movie. So I apologize, I didn't say it up front, and I'll put it in the description so everybody knows, or even in the title. But there are spoilers here. Mm-hmm. So then you have the whole battle, like I said, John Hook, and then the quickening and everything. But meanwhile, you have Vasilik going after Kurgan, and
he didn't know it was Kurgan. He was going. Yeah. For the battle with Hook and Connor, and then Kurgan got in the middle of it. Yeah,
he got intercepted by Kurgan, and then he realized it, and then they're fighting. And while we don't actually see what happens to Vasilik, at first we see Connor dealing with this Watcher guy, and all of a sudden across the bay, near on the bridge near the statue, you've got another quickening going on, and Connor immediately knows what happened. It's like, no! And, then of course we get to see that. And then you have this touching scene with Connor and Rachel where she's like, dude, you don't get to decide who loves you, who's going to be in your life. You're stuck with me. Deal with it. That's basically what she says to him. And
I thought you were talking about the emotional scene he had with Vasilik. Obviously he died already, but he did. I liked that scene. That was very emotional as well. I can't stay here, brother. I wish I could, but they're going to be here to find you soon, or they're going to find you here soon. I can't stay.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was going to come back to the Vasilik scene, but no, that's. No, it's totally. That was a very touching scene too. Obviously, they were close. They've been through a lot over the centuries, and that was very touching too. I wanted to refer to the Rachel thing, wrap that part up too, where she said all that, and then she's like, "Are you ready?" And he's like, "I'm ready," and that's how we end the series. But yeah, no, going back to the Vasilik scene, obviously he goes to find him. Just, he has to see for himself, and, he has to discover who it was that did it, and obviously it's Kurgan, and he knows that, and again, setting up the plot of the movie, and, the touching farewell to his good friend there. So, all in all, I thought it was a solid ending to this. I'm sad to see it ending, and I'm sure we'll talk about that. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, everything leading up to this point where you knew you had to have these big epic fights and that was going to be your conclusion, I think it lived up to that hype. Even with, we had some highs and lows throughout the series, and this ended on a high note, even though it was a low note for, Connor and Vasilik, of course. But, for fans, for readers, and from a story perspective, I think it ended on a high note. And it prepared you to go to that next stage of this story. So,
exactly. This was my favorite issue. 5 stars. Hold on. There we go. I had to fix one of my programs, not the recording program, but a program froze up, so I wanted to stop it from hurting possibly the program. But anyway, getting back to this now, this is my favorite issue. 5 stars. I love the action in it. Like you said, we knew it was coming. I thought the writing all the way up until this point. I mean, we'll talk about the series after this. So just focusing on this issue, emotional goodbye for Vasilik. I mean, we kind of knew he was going to die because he wasn't in the movies. He wasn't referenced in the movies. He was nothing really in the movies. So we knew he was going to either die or go away. More than likely die, because in the first movie it was believed that Connor was the last of the immortals, which is hilarious because the more you said that, Brant, I was like, yeah. And then in 1991, apparently there was a huge birthing of new immortals.
Yep. Oh man,
I love this. I love this series. This was a really great issue. Like I said, my favorite one. Sadly, it was the last part, but the action was great. The art for the action was great. The writing was spot on for all the characters, and it literally felt like with the full series that this was the end of the episode or the end of the movie. This was where it all culminated to, and it was good. It was amazing. I truly don't understand why we are not hearing from IDW that there's going to be a backup series. However, I did check the writer's Twitter, I think 2 weeks ago, And somebody had tweeted him, "Are we going to be seeing more from you with Highlander?" And I think he said something along the lines of, "I am working on a project for IDW, but it is not Highlander at this time. If we are approached to do another one, we definitely will, but that's not in the foreseeable future."
Right.
So I'm sad. They did not take up this franchise. They literally did a mini and then let it go. I'm very sad.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm looking at it now. July 9th, he actually was when he made that statement. Nothing to announce here. But I hope to show up again as a comics writer somewhere before too long. So yeah, that was another tweet that I just saw. So I thought it was fantastic as a fan of Highlander, and I think any fans of Highlander out there will agree with us that this was very well done and very faithful to the franchise, to the characters.
Oh, yes.
Even to the actors. I think he got in their heads, got their voices correctly, like you mentioned earlier. And I think this would be a very excellent trade read.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
This would be perfect as a trade read.
Yeah. Not to disparage it as a miniseries, as single issues, because I think it was still solid, because in any miniseries you read, you're going to have your ups and downs. You're going to have, an issue or two that might not be quite as polished as the other, or quite as exciting as the other, because you got to get those still moments. You got to get those background exposition moments. You have to throw that in there,
right?
To tell your complete story. But as a trade read, I think you could cover to cover this thing, and it would. I think it would flow a lot better. I honestly think it would be a better read as a trade, personally.
I agree with you 100%. This would definitely work better as a trade read, but I gotta be honest, like the way we read it, it was still magic. It still had its magic. I mean, now, like you said, there was that one issue that, for a reader of a trade, or if you're watching the TV show, and we said that when we talked about it on the podcast, that issue was needed, because that was the background issue, that was the flashback issue, and that was the slowest of the 5, and that's okay. But reading it as a trade, you'll just glide right through that and continue on all the way through to the end. And I think that's one of the good things, is you won't have to worry about that 1 month where things were a little bit slower, because you got that flashback. You can just enjoy the whole story. And I honestly, if I did not start buying this as a single issue, I probably would have bought the trade. I would have grabbed the trade faster. Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. What I will say is, if you're not already a fan of Highlander, or you're just like a casual fan, you've seen like one of the movies, or you've watched the TV show or whatever, and you're not like totally invested like we were, I think I would totally recommend a trade over the minis, over the single issues. But if you are a fan of Highlander already, as much as we are, you've consumed all the movies and TV shows, I still recommend the trade, but I think it's a different reading experience. I think you're going to enjoy the single issues just as much, just because you're a fan and it gets it right. I still have to buy and watch the second movie, because I did not know that movie existed. When I started watching Highlander, I went straight to the third movie thinking it was the second, so I still have to consume that movie. Other than, I've seen them all except the last one, which I've skimmed, and dear God. I'm not going to get into it again for the 20th time on this cast, but dear God. Yeah. I've seen them all except for that, the Raven and that cartoon. That's the only things I haven't seen. I own the Raven because it came with the DVD set I got, but I still have not watched it. And there was another series that they did for a brief time, but it didn't involve Connor or Duncan. I'm trying to remember the name of the series. It was just Highlander in general, but that didn't last long. I think it lasted 2 seasons and it was done. Oh, I guess I haven't seen that one either. It was newer too. I wouldn't recommend it, because nobody. Okay. It went under every Highlander fan's radar, and there's a reason for that, I guess. So. I guess so. So either way, I think you're going to enjoy this book, and if you're not a fan of the franchise, or you're not familiar with it, basically all you need to know is these guys are immortals. They've lived a long time. They're fighting for this prize. Like, I read that. Story so far, a little snippet at the top of the show, and they're battling with swords, and there's lightning, and it's pretty cool. It's really great. Definitely, listen. For $10, okay, you can get the first movie, the third movie, the fourth movie, and the fifth movie, which you can ignore the fifth movie. Don't worry about it. All in one set. You get 4 discs. You can get literally the entire almost movie experience. And the reason they didn't put the second one in there is because the second one really it made it look like it was the complete end, which is why they cut it out. So you can get that for like $11 too. It's in my shopping cart for like ever. So eventually I'll grab it for the $11. But yeah, it's just a more conclusive conclusion that would definitely. Let's put it this way: alternate dimensions. That was an alternate reality where it ended. In the real reality, we went to the Duncan story after Highlander, the third movie.
Yeah. Real quick, just to let everybody know, if you are wanting to buy the trade, its expected release date is November 22nd.
Wow, so late?
Yeah, I know. I was surprised by that too. I didn't realize it was going to be that late. So if you don't want to wait that long, you'll have to consume the single issues. But if you can wait, November is when you're looking for it. So.
I'm surprised. So I wonder if they pushed it to November because they might. That's an idea. What if they pushed it to November because they might mention there's a new Highlander series coming out in November?
That would be awesome. Or even after that.
Mm-hmm. Like waiting
Maybe
to make the announcement kind of deal.
Yeah. I'd be down with that.
I'm okay with that. I read the story already. I'm good.
I'm
good. So.
That's totally cool with me. So yeah, I think it's been a solid series, and like we said, we're sad to see it go. If I really hope if they do more that they bring back this creative team, because I really think this team gets it. Especially, I think the art is fantastic, but I just have to give credit to the writer Brian Ruckley for really getting their voices and getting in their heads and really getting those characters right and getting the story beats right, because it felt like so in tune with that world that the movies and the TV shows created.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, definitely. I just think that this was a really great. Honestly, we didn't know it was coming, and then when we did, we planned out the podcast and everything. It was a pleasant surprise, and we were talking about doing a Highlander podcast before the comic. The comic was what springboarded this podcast, and man, it did not disappoint. We were nervous. I remember when we started, we were like, the first issue was good, but we're nervous because there's still 4 more to go. Man, no reason to be nervous. This series ended on a beautiful note. The series was amazing. 5 stars. For the entire series. I recommend this, definite, 100%. And if IDW does not do another Highlander mini, at least, they're crazy, because they got Back to the Future, which is, here we go again. Nope.
Yeah, don't go there.
Nope, not doing it. But they have so many franchises, they can add one more. It won't kill them.
Well, we do have to understand that we don't see their sales numbers. We can look at the top 300 chart and all that stuff and see where it falls, if it fell anywhere. But we don't know what their threshold is, what they need to get back from it.
No, you're right. Who knows? Maybe I said Back to the Future, so I'll use that as an example. Maybe Back to the Future selling 20 times better than Highlander did. We don't know. So
yeah, I would honestly say as cool as Highlander is, as cult favorite as it is, I'd say Back to the Future probably has a larger following just because it's a more mainstream kind of thing, and it's more relatable in a way. So I would understand that, but I'm sure there are tons of Highlander fans out there that have consumed this book, and if you're a Highlander fan and you're listening to this and you have not heard about this book, you need to go show your support so you can say to IDW, hey, we need more of this.
Oh, yeah. And IDW is very welcoming to a lot of things. IDW just got Sonic and Mega Man, so I feel like IDW, the company, is going to explode with books soon. I think IDW is going to be one of those independents that they're going to need their own catalog like Marvel soon. And that's not me complaining. That's me being as happy as a kid in a candy shop, because I'll tell you, I may say, they have so many franchises that, Highlander could be higher up on my reading list with, but I read a lot of their books. I may not review a lot of their books, but I read G.I. Joe, Transformers, Transformers I'm a bit behind because there's a lot of reading with that. But I do read the regular Back to the Future, not Biff to the Future. I read the original Ghostbusters. I'm not reading the ones with the girls, the failed movie. I'm reading Revolutionaries and Mask and... TMNT. Yeah, I was going to save that for last. But yes, TMNT is my number one. TMNT Universe.
I think it's safe to say we both read a lot of IDW.
Oh yeah. It's I think it's the out of the way titles, like the ones that are like miniseries that are kind of out there that I kind of skip over. But other than, even their classic books I read, like the classic Popeye and Disney stuff. Cindy loves the Disney stuff.
See, I'll even read some of the other stuff. Like Night Owl Society was a 3-issue miniseries that they did, I absolutely loved that.
I read that. I'm reading that. I'm a little behind. I think I missed issue 1. I got to get issue 1.
So, I mean, they do a lot of stuff, and I'm just like you. I don't review that stuff. I don't put it in my top, because I'm usually slow with it, because I like to consume a lot of it at once. So, G.I. Joe, Transformers, Mask, all that stuff, I'm still reading too. So, you know, we're big IDW fans. We like a lot of the stuff that they do.
I got to figure out, the one thing I don't like is, because we are working with a lot of these companies, I got to figure out, and I keep kicking myself, because it's like, I would love to talk about all the books I just said, but I'm so far behind. I got to figure out a way to do either maybe us to do a cast or me to do a video where I could talk about, because even though I'm behind, I feel like I could still discuss a few things that go on in the books.
Yeah, that's true. And just to clarify, when Chris says we're working with these companies, basically as reviewers, we have access to certain things at certain times for Comic Frontline.
And we're reviewers also. That's what I meant. We review.
Yeah, that's what I meant. That's just what I wanted to clarify for people what that meant exactly. So they didn't think
we don't get a paycheck. No, we don't get a paycheck from IDW.
No.
It'd be cool, but no. When I say we work with all the comic companies. But I feel like because there's so much going on with the big two, and because I read, I'm going to just put myself in the front of the gun here. And because I read at a slower pace, the IDW stuff, I feel like because by the time I get to the point where where I've read that issue, we're already almost ready for the next one, and it doesn't make a point to talk about it. But I tell you, I read a lot of IDW, and I recommend a lot of their stuff. It's a lot of fun.
Honestly, and I'm going to throw this out there in the public. If anybody wants to comment, let us know. I think it would be interesting at some point, not anytime soon, but like down the road when we both had a chance to catch up on some stuff, to do kind of an IDW Hasbro-verse kind of show. Maybe. That
would be cool. Or just an IDW see, this is the thing where you say, okay, you'll do an IDW. This is something that we could talk about off the cast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. I mean, because a lot of the stuff I read is Hasbro. I mean, that's definitely something I kind of wrap my... The only thing that's hard for me to wrap my mind around is the Transformers, because there's so much dialogue. But other than
There's a lot of dialogue in those books.
It is. And that's another thing with Highlander. The dialogue and the action were in perfect sync. We were worried there would be too much exposition, too much dialogue. This book had a perfect blend, a perfect balance, and that's why I loved it.
Yeah. And I think, again, that rings true to the both the movie and the TV show. You have that really good balance of dialogue and drama and action that neither part overwhelmed the other. And even like the flashbacks and stuff like that, especially in the TV series, the flashbacks to Duncan's past and stuff, everything was in a good, fair balance. And I think this book did that right.
I agree, 100%. This book was excellent. I'm so sad that we are not... we said it's been 3 weeks. By now, we would be getting the next issue if it was still going on, and it's kind of sad that we don't have any more issues to talk about. Yeah.
So that brings up a good point, though. What is the future of this podcast? And we've kind of said on other shows that, what our kind of immediate plans are. So we'll share that right now. Basically, right now, we're going to take a small break from the show.
Right.
So, and we're going to kind of regroup and figure out what we want to do next. Obviously, we're going to keep doing this show, and we're going to focus until we have more comics to talk about IDW. We're going to focus.
Hint.
Yeah, exactly. On the movies and the TV show and maybe some of the other comics, because we talked about that in previous episodes. I still have to get them so I can read them too, so we can talk about them.
Oh,
Yeah.
same here. So no worries. There's no get it now kind of feel.
Right. So that's kind of the plan. We're just going to kind of regroup and see exactly what we want to do next. But have no fear. There Can Be Only One is coming back at some point. We'll keep you posted. Stay tuned to our social media for all that. And, of course, if you watch any of our other shows or listen to any of our other podcasts, we're going to mention that when we're ready to say something about it. So.
Right. Well, I think that where we would make the definitive mention of it would be the main show, which is Zone 4. So if you need a podcast to really keep an ear out for, listen to Zone 4 and listen to Zone 4, the full show in general. But if you want to see about news and whatnot, we always talk about coming out, and going on at the end of every Zone 4 episode. So that is where we would mention There Can Be Only One when it's ready to come out.
Yeah, and on Comic Frontline Live, if you want to check that out every Tuesday night. Same thing. At the end, we talk about what's coming out, and going on for us individually there, too.
Right. So just keep an ear out on our news and keep an ear out on our Twitter. That's the best place to find immediate, like, okay, we're ready to do the next episode of There Can Be Only One. So, and here is where we're going to start it, and this is what it's going to be about. And we'll see you guys in the next episode soon kind of deal.
Absolutely. All right. So any closing thoughts, Chris?
This was an amazing comic series that not only did I, if I have to be quoted here, because I don't know if they're putting quotes in books or whatever, this comic series made me go out and spend over the amount of this comic series because this comic series made me go out and get the movies, the TV show DVD sets, and beyond. So this comic series made me reinvest in Highlander.
And I'll say something similar. This comic series reinvigorated my love for the Highlander franchise.
We need more Highlander now.
Absolutely. And I think that's the best. Yeah, where we riot. That's the best we can say, and I think that's a good way to end the show.
Oh, yeah.
So did we want to do plugs here?
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it, Brant. Yeah.
All right. So, obviously, we do a lot of other shows, like we've referenced several times. The 400th episode of Zone 4 went live recently. And I say 400, you can go listen to it to find out why it's 400, not 333.
And then go on the website and look at all the episodes and see how Brant did it, because he worked his butt off to get everything so that you guys will understand why it's 400 too.
Exactly. So go check that out. And we had a great time. We had our new cast on there, Gordon, Jay, myself, and Chris, talking all kinds of San Diego news and Spider-Man Homecoming and everything. You want to hear our thoughts on that, go check that out. Of course, every Tuesday night, like I already mentioned, on Comic Frontline on YouTube, we do our live show. We do our top 5. We talk comic news and everything. Chris and I will both be on that. And there will probably be a new Airship 27 podcast. If not next week, it'll be the week after that. So look for that again. Watch our social media. And one more thing I wanted to say. I already mentioned the Zone 4 Patreon page is probably up now. So go check that out if you want to support the show. And that by supporting the Zone 4 Patreon, you're supporting all the Zone 4 content, which includes this show.
Oh, yeah. So, and me wearing a kilt. We will do a live. I will do a live show wearing a kilt. I don't care if I have to sit far back on the camera so you guys can see it. I don't mind. See, I've always wanted to wear, ever since Roddy Piper, I've been a fan of the kilt. So I don't mind.
Then you should like Sheamus and Cesaro now.
Absolutely not. Although I do follow Sheamus on Instagram, and he's a really cool guy outside of the ring.
That's cool. All right, so one final thing for me, and then you can go. Last Number Press, our mailing list. We have a new offer. It'll be live by the time this goes live. So we have a new offer. If you join our mailing list, you will get a digital copy of The Last Ember #0 for free.
Free.
The entire issue. So if you want to read that issue, you haven't had a chance to get it yet, you can get it for free just by simply giving us your email address. That's it.
That's $0.00 charged not to you.
Exactly. And I'm not going to spam your inbox. I do a weekly update. And I usually give my thoughts on some random topic. I share some cool stuff I've seen with you. Go ahead, Chris.
I'm just going to say one thing for everybody worried about that. I get lots of mail from lots of companies, and Brant's only sending it once a week. There are companies that send it 4 times a week, and believe me, it gets crazy. Once a week is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So
there you go. LastNumberPress.com, Zone4Podcast.com, Frontline.com, and go.
Okay, so my end of the woods. Number one, I want to talk about Frontline. Chris and Brant show, The Defenders, will be dropping in 2 weeks. Brant and I will be doing a Defenders weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I believe 2 episodes. No, 3, 2, and 3 to do the entire series. So pop by. We'll be doing it night of release, the night after, and then the night after that we will have the full series concluded. It's a podcast. I have been streaming on Twitch. If you'd like to follow me on Twitch, it's twitch.tv/DarkAvengerC86. I stream randomly. I'm working on a schedule. I'm told by many people on Twitch I should have a schedule. I understand that. I have to figure it out. I do things at night. I can't definitively say I'm going to stream at X amount of hours, X nights a week. So pardon me. I have other obligations like this podcast and you people right here. I can't make up a schedule. So anyway, I do stream on there, and it's a podcast. I will have, it's a podcast. It's a podcast. I have some comic news I'll be covering. Going into Hit Points Unlocked. I'm sorry, I was talking about Hit Points Unlocked. It's a podcast. I do have some comic stuff. I'm putting the show together as we speak for It's a Podcast. That might be a little bit later. In the immediate future, I'm working on It's a Podcast. I have a couple of things I'm going to be discussing on there. If I can get Brant to check out E3, I'll have an E3 wrap-up on Hit Points as well. I will be unlocking 2 games instead of 1 this time because I did not do 1 when Friday the 13th came out. I'll be doing that. And what I was saying about Twitch is Fortnite. I've been playing Fortnite, so I will be doing an unlocked on Fortnite as well. So it'll be a dual unlock. It's going to be extra, bonus level. We're going to have a bonus, our first bonus level on Hit Points. And speaking of Fortnite, I will also be doing a Frontline Gaming, which is what I'm going to call the series, on Comic Frontline, spotlighting Fortnite, my experience. I'll have some gameplay that I'll clip into my review as well, so you guys can see what the game looks like and how much fun myself and my friend Spartan had. Here are my thoughts on the game, my rating for the game, etc., etc. So there's a review of the game there. The Dark Avenger podcast, I'm working on that for my channel. That should be coming out, if not this weekend, early next week. It's a podcast in about 2-3 weeks, and Hit Points about a week to 2 weeks for that. Celestial Falcon 1 is available on Etsy.com/LastNumberPress, along with a bunch of other awesome books. I will be working on some things come September to start sharing on the Patreon as well. So if you are not a patron for Last Ember Press /529 Studios, you might want to consider it. It's only $1, and you get everything that we write on our Patreon. Right, Brant, before I say that with such authority?
Yeah. Right now, if you want access, right now we don't have any webcomics, but if you want early access to those when they launch, which we did just reach a goal to where, we're doing one very soon, that's $3. But just our general updates, our patron-only stuff, $1 gets you our behind-the-scenes stuff, yes.
Right. So for only $12 a year, you'll get to see the articles or the audios that I'm recording or writing for the Patreon. So definitely go support that Patreon. Celestial Falcon issue 2 is in the writing as we speak, and hopefully issue 2 will be out by, we're going to say fall, and we're going to say that very loosely because it takes a lot of work, but we're going to loosely say that, right, Brant? Fall?
Yes.
Loosely? We're going to loosely say that. Very loosely. Mm-hmm. We're not giving any definitive dates or anything. I'm loosely saying that. We're hoping. We're keeping our fingers crossed, man. Look, if it drops on December 21st by accident, which is the first day of winter, we're sorry we were 24 hours too late. But anyway, that's the news for me, and then all the regular stuff that I always do. Comic review every Monday on my channel, haul video every Saturday on Frontline, and Twitch gaming all around whenever I can. And there should be a Chris and Brant show where we do the previews at some point in the hopeful near future.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that. And then this new podcast that we're probably going to discuss the second we say goodbye to you people.
Exactly. All right. So speaking of that, goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.
or should I say goodbye from the Highlands of Zone 4.
By the time you guys come back, I'll have a fully built castle. Right here on this here mountaintop. It'll be made of sand, though, so I can't live in it.
Sandcastles.
Hey! I love sandcastles. I live by the beach.
We end the show with sandcastles. Sandcastles in Scotland.
Scotland!
We've come to be the rulers of your world.
This has been a Gonzo Goose production.